Hello and welcome back to the Thought Cloud podcast. Our goal with this conversation is to tell the story of an inspiring student to inspire other students. Our guest today is Chiadika Vincent. We are going to learn about his path. We're going to learn about where he is at currently at Johns Hopkins, where he's studying robotics, and how he got there, what he hopes to do, and what he's learned along the way. So thank you for joining us today.
Hey, how you guys doing? Nice to be here, Oliver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad you're here. So let's start with robotics. I know that that's where you are now. You're kind of in your last closing time of your studies there. This is a master's program. So undergraduate, you
Yeah.
studied cognitive science, right? And that was more of a
Yes, I did.
machine learning type of approach to cognitive science.
Yeah. So basically, the way in which that happened was, so my initial plan was to go into mechanical engineering in undergrad, but my school was like the program was like full of like it was full in terms of like the amount of students that they let join the program. So I was in like a process of trying to apply to it. So I like took certain classes and I could apply to join the mechanical engineering major. Only thing with that is like, you have to take I think 10 classes or something like that before you're even able to apply to join the major. And that's like 2 years into like, your college route. So it's like I didn't want to
Right.
spend 2 years of taking these classes and then like, oh, get into the major, then all those 10 classes I've taken for that one major don't apply to anything else. So I was kind of scared in terms of that. So I was like, I need to find another route that's more secure that I can switch into immediately and kind of go that route. So it was the beginning of my second year. I was talking to a friend of mine because we had similar at the time similar interest in terms of like our future and what we wanted to do. I was asking what's your major? They're like, oh, I'm cognitive science, but specializing in machine learning. And I'm like, what on earth is machine learning? So and he was just like,
Like
yeah,
everybody, like everyone's like, what
no,
what on
yeah,
earth is machine
yeah,
learning?
quite
Absolutely. Yeah.
literally. Yeah, and this was like in 2018, 2019, before like everyone starts talking about AI every other day kind of stuff. So this was like, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously machine learning is obviously precedes me, but it was less talked about at that time. So I was like, I've never heard of that before, and like I was always a pretty like techie guy, so I'm like I've never heard of this before. Let me look into it. I looked into it, and I'm like, wait, this is like you're literally teaching computers and machines, how to learn. So I'm like, I like that. Like, that's really
Yeah.
cool. That can be something that knows used in my like end ambition in terms of like my life goals and like career goals and stuff like that. And the major, I was able to switch right into it. There was no whole application process, take these classes, blah, blah, blah. So that day I went home, looked into it, and I'm like, I like that. Just went online, pressed a couple buttons, and I switched majors just like that, basically. Um,
Boom.
so I
And you
ended up in
said
that
you said
major.
when you were starting, you said it was what kind of engineering that you thought you wanted to get involved with?
Mechanical engineering
Mechanical engineering.
was my first choice. Yes.
Gotcha. But you were a techie kind of guy, and when this came along, you said, okay, well, this can actually, put me towards something that is my end goal, whatever that is. Did you know what that end goal was at that time?
I just knew I wanted to get into robotics or like something of the sort, like some kind of robotics, automation, like autonomy kind of stuff, something of the sort like that, something that's in that realm. But like I said, it was just like I was trying to figure out the correct path to get there. And
Hmm.
I only did mechanical engineering because that's what people told me, like that's the way in which if you want to get into robotics, do mechanical engineering. So I didn't really
Gotcha.
have much of like men I didn't really have anyone to really guide me. It was really just like I was Googling most of the stuff. I asked some cousins that were engineers. None of them were in the robotics field though. That was asking like, what do I do? And they would
Yeah.
some would say computer science, some would say mechanical engineering, and I was just like, but why? Why are these like what are these things? What do
Yeah.
they
What
mean?
am I
I
going to
didn't
get out
know.
of it?
Exactly. So it was really just like me just like shooting with my eyes closed kind of thing. And I was just like, I don't know, but this seems like it'll get me to that same end goal. So I'm going to go with it kind of thing. And it obviously worked out because, here I am now. But so that's basically how that came to be. It was just like, I did that and that's how I ended up in that major for the most part. And, the only thing I did say about it that I didn't, like the most was because like, I also am a hands-on kind of person. So I
Hmm.
like to build stuff, work with my hands and stuff like that. And machine learning is all strictly just you're on the computer typing stuff up, writing your code and all that kind of stuff. So that was the only thing I felt was the downfall for me, which is why I think mechanical engineering would have been nice because of the fact that I get to, work hands-on with stuff as well. But I kind of found my own way once again. I kind of figured I'm like, well, I'm not learning it in class. I'm gonna learn it out of class, kind of thing. So
Right. So
joined
how'd that look
clubs,
learning it
joined.
outside of class? Yeah. So you were joining clubs. You were the president of the National Society of Black Engineers at UC San Diego, which is awesome.
Yes, I
We were
was.
talking about that
Yeah,
earlier. We had a guest on that was also he was your like he came after you.
yeah.
Um,
So I was president while he was our. I forgot what his position was. I think he was. I forgot the exact. I think he was our outreach chair at the time while I was serving as
gotcha.
president. And then I believe
Gotcha.
he preceded me afterwards. He became the president after I had graduated and stepped down.
Gotcha. 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 And so clubs like that, what other clubs maybe that you got involved with? I don't know the full extent, but getting outside of the classroom and actually putting your hands on things. That's how you found opportunities, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that was a great way for me to grow and learn. 'Cause I mean, obviously, one thing I always say is like, I really do enjoy learning and learning new things, but learning in the classroom setting oftentimes adds that pressure and it
Right.
makes learning a lot more like not difficult, but it makes it like this is like, make or break kind of thing,
Right. No, I
So
feel that.
sometimes,
Absolutely.
yeah. So sometimes you don't really have that same like, that like, okay, I can learn at my own pace, I might fail today, but it's okay. Like, I'm not gonna like, cry to bed tonight if I can't get this, if I can't like, pass this like, one thing, kind of thing. So I really enjoyed like learning outside the class, just because like I said, there's a lot less pressure. So I also joined, I was part of IEEE, which is the Institute for Electronics and Electrical Engineers. I believe that's the acronym stands for. I always forget. I think it's Electrical and Electronic Engineers. I always forget the exact acronym, but IEEE basically, in our school, we had IEEE project teams where each semester basically, or each quarter, we would basically, form teams and, build some project based off of some topic, whatever it might be. So I joined that club and joined those teams. My team and I had built like this smart plant pot where it would like water itself and all of
Wow.
this kind of stuff and like keep track of the health of the plant. And this was all done completely from scratch. So like that
I
was
need
my
that
first
pot, by the
introduction.
way. I need
Yeah,
that
I mean
pot,
the
by the
thing
way.
is
Yeah,
long
I've got an
gone these
avocado
days.
plant that's just, it's dying, dude. It is dying.
Yeah, it was really cool because I mean that was my first time in terms of like things such as like 3D modeling, like CAD. I had never done that before. I learned how to use it. Doing that project, really simple, like the basic stuff, but it was a good introduction because it's just something I had no idea about. These days, I do a whole bunch of CAD, which is pretty insane to think of how far I've come since then. But yeah, that was one thing I got to do. I found out, I looked at 3D printers and how those work. Um, Simple circuits like electrical circuits I had no kind of knowledge on before that, and I just learned a lot of these smaller things doing those projects. And then I also took some classes as well that my school offered. There were different classes that once again were hands on. So there was a couple of electrical engineering courses that I took, um, that allowed me to once again get some more hands-on practice. But these classes were a little bit more like less stressful, more of just like, hey, you guys go out there, build something, put effort in. Less of like it has to be the perfect thing. More we rated more on our process and like how we did things, less rather than like what our final project actually was. So it was okay to
Right,
fail as long as you
right.
can document and understand why you failed, how you went about trying to get there, and all these kinds of things. So I
That's
really
cool.
enjoyed doing that, and it just kind of like I gained a lot of knowledge doing that basically. So I found a way to supplement the stuff that I was learning from my major with these other things, and I felt like that kind of gave me this holistic kind of experience I was looking for. So that was really really enjoyable, and I felt that I came out with really really strong skills and just kind of like the drive and like that like wanting to learn more that kind of brought me here to my graduate studies at Johns Hopkins.
Absolutely. And let's touch into that now because I think what's really cool is maybe the path didn't seem direct up front. And like you said, it's like, why would I be taking this particular major to get me to where I want to go? And I went through that same feeling. I think everyone goes through that same feeling. But you found a path that complemented it in some way, shape, or form. You got a lot of hands-on experience outside the class, and you sought out some classes that would give you what you were looking for while you're taking that class. So you got to kind of keep that passion alive for this idea of robotics, working with robots in this sense, and you went into Johns Hopkins, this master's program, which is focused on robotics, not mechanical engineering, not a subset of engineering. Did it just stand out that, okay, now this is like, hey, this is focused on robotics, I want to just dive into it now? Or were you going into that program thinking, I'm still exploring, maybe it's robotics, maybe it's adjacent? Did you have it figured out, as you were applying to these programs?
Yeah, so at this point, when I was applying to programs, I knew it was robotics that I wanted to do at that point. But the part that I'm still even to this day kind of like on is like which aspect of robotics once again. So it
And
always
let's
comes out.
go
There's always
for,
like,
yeah, for the audience that really doesn't have an idea of how big the field of robotics is, talk about that a little bit because it's
yeah,
massive.
yeah. So I mean, so first of all, we can split it easily into there's the mechanical side, there's the software side, and there's the electronic side. So mechanical side, you're like building like the physical, robot, like you're modeling how physically it's going to look, and things of the sort. Software is you're making sure that, like, hey, the robot is going to move properly this way. Like if I do this, the robot's going to do that kind of thing, programming it. Whether you're using just regular, like, hey, when I press this button, go forward or whatever it might be. And then there's a whole electronic side, which is all the sensors, all of the, wiring, all of that, making sure that the battery doesn't just blow up as soon as you turn it on, kind of thing. There's all of that as well. And then even, I mean, kind of like on even in a more specified or specific explanation, there's a lot more. So in terms of like software, you can go to like computer vision, which is like things such as like, how they're using cameras to like, map things out and make sure the rock can see and actually like, know its environment. There's uh, SLAM, which stands for simultaneous localization and mapping, which is basically just using robots to scan out their area. And like kind of, for example, one thing that people always give an example is the little robot vacuums.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Roomba.
those use, yeah, the Roombas, for example, those use SLAM. They have all these sensors on them and they're able to map out, for example, your bedroom or your kitchen or wherever they're at. And they know what the place looks like. And they know, oh, there's an island there. I have to go around the island, vacuum here, vacuum there. And it makes its
Hmm.
own path in its head and, goes its own way. So there's all that. And then there's just like the regular basic, just like, programming up the robot to do simple tasks. There's just a lot of different tasks. There's a lot of different subsets on the software side. On the mechanical side, there's like the more like I said before, there's like the more mechanical, strictly just like building components. But then there's also some mechanical side that also do software. So there's like a lot of different
Yeah,
um, crossover in terms of like the specific aspect you want to dive into. Like I kind of fall somewhere between I want to do hardware and software. Electronics is not my thing, so that's one thing I'm like, leave me out of that.
yeah,
But I'm very much in between hardware and software because I think that kind of encompasses the whole mechanical engineering aspect that I kind of liked. It's from the very beginning and that hands-on physical aspect of it, as well as that programming background that I have had and I've been doing a lot as well. So I feel like it's a good combination of both. And just being able to do that would be really, really fun to me. But yeah, robotics is a really, really like robotics in itself is a specified field of just engineering in general. And then there's so many other specifications under the robotics industry as well. So it's like there's so many different options and routes you can go. For example, like self-driving cars, and that falls under robotics. That's all part of it, kind of thing. So I have a lot of
yeah,
friends here, like they get this degree and they go work for like a company like Tesla or whatever, and work on their self-driving cars. So it's like it's really applicable to different industries and stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy. It's just trying to find out where you fall into is tough sometimes because there's a lot of different options.
totally, totally. I think that last part you're touching on, how many different industries actually exist that rely on robotics that you wouldn't even realize half the time. I mean, food is a massive one, just in terms of testing and making sure that things are safe. And there's a lot of robotics required to do all of those particular tests or coming up with different, I don't know. I guess GMOs are a problem, but just going through not GMOs, but anything that's more like that synthetic, or you have to create
Yeah.
like lanthanum gum or all those different things, like manufacturing of those foods. You would never expect that. um it's pretty darn cool. It's pretty darn cool. And so that's the next question that I've got for you, in the sense of, you went into this program, you said, okay, it's robotics, more of a hardware software kind of guy. Did you know or have a lean towards what sort of applications you'd like to be focusing on? That wrote like self-driving car, or I don't know, any of the above?
Yeah, I mean that definitely has changed throughout the years. That when I first was into it, I'm like I wanted to get into like the whole like when I first heard about machine learning like way back when, I'm like I want to get into self-driving cars. I was like that's my thing. I want to do self-driving cars. And then after a while, I'm like wait, that's like strictly all software, nothing else. I'm like I don't want to do all software, so I got okay, let's back up a little bit. So
Hmm.
when I got here, I was like okay, I wasn't 100% sure in terms of where I wanted to fall into. Um, but I think these days, I mean, like it really has changed so much. Even within the past, like I would say 6 months, it's changed a lot because I was thinking I really wanted to get into like just, for example, like manufacturing robots, like the robots that are out there, like building cars on the assembly line, things like that, or robots for logistics, such as like, that work in warehouses and things like that. So I really wasn't sure. But then this past summer, I was working at a medical company that makes surgical robots. And I worked there over the summer and I was like, this is really, really cool too. And it also kind of felt cool knowing that, what I'm working on could be out here saving lives. And that kind of also opened up a like, whole other like I guess like thing in my head because I was like before I didn't have any interest in the medical robotics industry because I just didn't I was never
Hmm.
really a medical person to begin with. But then after that I was working like medical robots and I'm like wow, like this can be doing surgery on someone and saving someone's life one day, so just the fact of like how much impact that could have on someone just kind of really resonated with me. And I really got into the whole medical robotics thing after that. So it opened up a whole other door that I'm like, maybe I want to look into that one day. So
Right.
right now I'm at the point where it's like, there's a medical robotics industry. I like that. There's just a typical like, manufacturing industry. I like that. Like I'm at the point where I think I've just found that I like so many things. I think it's just more of just like, it's less of the application of what I'm working on, just as long as what I'm actually doing is enjoyable, what the robot's actually being used for. Um, is of less is of less importance to me basically. So it could
Right.
be literally a robot that's I don't know making pizzas. Like it's just something random, but I know a guy that and he worked at a company where they're using robots to like make pizzas and stuff like that. But so that's less of the importance to me. It's more just as long as what I get to do is fun and I'm enjoying it. The actual application is of less importance just because of the fact that like I found that I enjoy doing so many different things in so many different sectors. So I feel like
Absolutely.
there's just too many different options for me to choose from. So I think it's just
Absolutely.
like less of the application, more as long as what I'm doing is fun and it's robots that I'm enjoying. Then I think it's kind of I'm open for it kind of thing.
That makes sense. And that's good. I mean, that means that you're fundamentally passionate about what you've been focusing on, which is cool. I mean, a lot of people take some time to get there. Not saying it hasn't taken you time. Obviously, you went through undergraduate to figure this out. Now you're in your master's program. It's even more clear that you love it, and you get to keep exploring that as it continues when you're in industry. Um, I guess what's interesting too is we talked about machine learning and how it's used in almost everyday life. Like it's a big buzzword. It's massive.
Yeah.
Robotics. I'm curious about, do you see trends of where kids want to focus or where students want to focus in terms of getting into industry? Do you see rushes of, hey, it does need to be self-driving cars. Oh no, it needs to be medical. Or do you see it's a pretty good distribution of, kids want to try kind of, there's a good sample of everyone wanting to get into different things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, well, especially at Johns Hopkins, given that, it's like one of the top medical schools in the world and stuff like that, but it's a really, really big medical robotics kind of push here just because of the fact that, school that's known for medicine. So there's a really, really big medical robotics, like, like program going on. So there's a lot of people that are in the medical robotics track and want to apply what they're doing into the medical industry. So it's really, really big on that here. But I would say, like, just in terms of robotics in general, like as a whole industry, I feel like there's lots of different paths that people take. I feel like it's really much um it's really diverse and spread out, and it's not just like like just in these specific sectors because like I said, here it's really medical. But when I look online and look at other like people that I know that are also in the industry, it's a lot less common that I see someone that's working in the medical robotics industry. It's a lot like I see people that are working on robots that are more for like manufacturing or whatever it might be,
Hmm.
but I don't see too often that they're in the medical industry. So um, I would say where I'm at here at school is very much like a little hub for medical
Right.
robotics, but it's like so it's might be disproportionate in terms of like what is in the real world. Because
Gotcha.
we literally have an entire medical robotics track you can take under the like, there's like different tracks for the robotics program that I'm in, and
I
there's an
see.
entire medical robotics track for that because they know that like that's like a big thing and it's really popular,
Yeah.
especially
And
here. So yeah.
now that you're in this space and you're thinking, okay, I really like the idea of medical, robotics. Did you take that track or did you take another track?
No, I didn't actually. So I'm in the automation. Oh, I'm in the my track is called uh, automation science and engineering. The exact specifics of what that really means is still beyond me to this day. Because I've been trying to figure out what that means, but I'm like, I don't know. I saw the classes that were required for it, and I'm like, those are interesting topics that I like, so I took it. The actual name of the track is I don't know, but yeah, I have some friends that were in the medical robotics track. I'm literally in a medical robotics class right now, actually. Um, but yeah, like it wasn't something that like I was a part of. I never had any like thought that I would be anywhere involved in the medical industry. But it kind of just happened. So it was really much like a random thing that kind of just happened.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So, as far as, you wanting to get into medical robotics, that's interesting. You've had an internship. Was it an internship or a job?
It was an internship this past summer. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Where'd you work? What'd you do? What'd you get exposed to? And kind of what'd you take away from it at the end of the day?
Yeah, so I mean, it's this company here in Baltimore. It's called Galen Robotics. So they basically make ENT robots, which is ear, nose, and throat robots. And
Hmm.
it's for those kind of surgeries basically. So it's just any kind of surgery that requires anything of those sort. It's basically able to be used for that. So it's more of an assistive, like collaborative type of robot that basically like let's say for example you're doing a surgery that requires like super steady precision in terms of like your hand movements and stuff like that. The robot is great for that because it's in terms of precision like it's like really great. But let's say something that might your hand might tremble a little bit because everyone's hand is trembled, even the best doctors out there, their hands have a slight tremble, or as they get older they begin to tremble more and stuff like that. This robot takes away all of that, um, and basically smooths out all your hand movements and all that kind of stuff. So it allows for you to do a lot more surgeries and do them a lot more precise without worrying about any possible complications that might come with just like a human doing it, because like we're not
Yeah.
perfect. We cannot just freeze our hands. We can't move perfectly, stuff of that sort. So that was really cool. But given and they're a startup, so given that they're a startup, I had the opportunity to work a lot more openly and freely. So I was able to kind of dabble into all aspects of the company. So I learned about, like supply chain, manufacturing, some hardware, some software, even like, they're startups. So I was learning about like, like the whole investment stuff and how all of that stuff works in terms of like talking to investors and all that kind of stuff and how that whole process goes. And then also, given that they're a medical robotics company, they have to go through and get approved by FDA. So I was learning about the whole FDA process and FDA clearances and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. So it was a great experience in terms of the fact that I got a lot of exposure to a lot of different aspects of the company. Like on a regular basis, I would talk to the CEO because he'd be in the office. We chat, So like, there's not many places where you get an opportunity like that. So it was really cool. I was always hanging out with like the VP of engineering, like the CEO, the CTO, like my bosses. Like it was a really great thing. Like I
Yeah.
talk about them, learn from them, like hear what they have to say, hear what they do in their daily life, and just kind of chat up and just enjoy that. So it was really cool because I just like it was one of those things that I feel like let's say you're at some giant, crazy, huge company and there's all this bureaucracy. You don't really get to like if you're some engineer at Apple, you're not talking to Tim Cook on your first day. Like
Right.
you probably never will talk to Tim Cook. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Right.
not how things go because it's just so many levels to it. But given that it felt like a lot more tight knit, close to a family kind of thing, it was really, really cool. So I really enjoyed the experience because of the fact that I got to, like I said, dabble in everything, and it was really,
Yeah,
really
let's
fun, and
talk.
I enjoyed that.
You got to dabble in everything. You just said it, but I was curious. What was the objective of the internship? Was it to dabble in everything, like a rotation style, or did you focus on product management mostly? Was that like your main task, or how did that
You
work?
know, it kind of came in where like, well, I guess initially there was like some stuff that there was like some like, oh, they wanted me to work on doing some unit testing for one of the robots or whatever, but it kind of ended up quickly becoming just like, hey, whatever you can help, just wherever you can like, help out at, go for it kind of thing. So I quickly
Right.
was doing a little bit of everything, like starting off on day one. So it was, I guess initially that was supposed to be the goal, was to have me to just do something specific, but it quickly, the first day, it kind of just began like, we can't do this engineering stuff until we get to fixing, our supply chain stuff kind of thing. So we're just like,
Right.
okay, help us out with that. And I just from day one began working on this kind of thing. So it wasn't
That's
intended for it to be like that, but it quickly became that. And I was fully happy with that because I enjoy, being able to kind of see the full picture of what's going on in the company and not just be in one really small bubble where I don't really know what's going on. Like I'm in software, I don't know what the hardware guys are doing. I don't like stuff like that. So I enjoy being able to
right.
see the full picture and know what's happening.
Absolutely. And so, from that experience, when you're able to see this vast picture of all these things that are happening, does it make you think going into the space that you want to have a particular focus within that company, within whatever company you work in? Do you think it's going to be, you know what, I actually really like product management. You know what, no, I actually really like dealing with the supply aspect of this. Or what are your thoughts there? Have they changed at all? Is it the space that matters, or is it the function that you're providing the company that matters?
Yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable, but I still do see myself as, I don't want to, I do enjoy the technical stuff though. So I do still, want to do the actual engineering where I'm sitting there, like, oh, we need to get a robot to do this. How do we figure it out? And I'm like, okay, we can, and I'm sitting there on the technical side, we have this, we can do this, we can do that. And then if I do this, you can do that kind of stuff like that. So I do still want to work on the technical side of things. So although that was enjoyable, and I did like that, but I say at least for the beginning of my career, I want to work like, get my hands dirty, do the technical hard work kind of stuff. And then as, I get older, probably progress more in my career, I want to, kind of step away from the pure like engineering and kind of like do more managerial type roles where I'm
Hmm.
more of like kind of more like I said product management, more managing than doing the actual hardcore engineering myself. But in my
Right.
early career though, I do see myself just doing this strictly just like kind of like while I'm young and have the energy and like the mind is still bright, do the hardcore engineering because I do enjoy that. And then as I get older, I can kind of like step down a little bit and do some more managerial type stuff.
Absolutely. 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 Well, that's cool. I'm glad that you had that experience, and obviously you took a lot away from it. For people that are wanting to get involved in internships, you got lucky with how you got into this role. I don't know if it was intentional or if you just felt grateful as you were going through it, but looking back and, giving advice to people that are looking to get a nice internship, what would you suggest to them in terms of doing that?
Yeah, I would definitely say for one thing, start early. Because I mean, internships like it's hard. Getting any kind of job role is hard. If it's an internship or full time, start early so you have the time, like spend months kind of thing doing it. But mine kind of ended up working out all from an email. I have been applying to places like for months and months and months, nothing was working out. I apply, you hear nothing back. I apply, you hear nothing back. But this company, I know I had talked to them. There was a job fair we had, I think like probably like 6 months prior at this point. Oh, at that point, it was like 6 months prior. There was a job fair. I heard about the company, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And they said, oh yeah, like if you want to hear more, or if you're interested in interning, email us around March time or something like that, and we can like and we can talk. And this was like in October of like 2022. They had said that, and I emailed them. I set a calendar on my phone on a little thing saying email this company at this email on this day kind of thing. And I did it. And then I got a response back, and then one thing led to another. Hey, you want
Wow.
to interview this and that, and that's how it ended up working out. So it's kind of just like follow through, be intentional, um, leverage your resources for sure. Because like I said, that came from a job fair that I went to, and I was talking to the recruiter, and he had told me that. I'm like, I'm not gonna forget. I don't know how many people actually remembered to email them. Probably not many, or if any at all. And I know I for sure did. So yeah, it's one of the things where it's just kind of like leverage those connections that you do have or whatever it might be. If you know somebody in person, I always say like if you know people in person, like if you can like leverage those connections, those always mean like a million times more than just applying online. Because there's been times where I
Absolutely.
apply online and you hear nothing back, then you talk to a recruiter, and then you have an interview from that same application you like sent in 3 months ago that no one got back to
Right.
you about. Talk to a recruiter, you have an interview the next day. That actually happened to me. And I was just like, what happened? Like, nothing changed between me and now and then. It's just that I talked to someone and they actually read my resume now, you know. So it's
Right.
definitely all about leveraging and trying to just talk to people one on one because you could apply to things, but at the end of the day, the majority of the time, your application is ending up in some like just file library that they have applications that get in there, and it's probably not getting
Totally.
read if it even like gets acknowledged by them and stuff like that. So definitely just try and talk to people in real life, email them, people talk to people personally, and you'll get a lot further doing that than anything else. In all honesty.
Absolutely. I can speak to that too because every position I've had, it was not a cold application like that I've gotten, right? I've cold applied, don't get me wrong, but to zero success. Like you have the
Yeah,
interviews, you have the this, you have the that, and you're just like, okay, I'm like one of how many? 500? I don't know. But, at the end of the day, if you know somebody and you know that they need help in certain ways, or somebody tells you, hey, I know someone that needs help, you got to really jump on those opportunities. Very, very important. And I think it's easily overlooked and it's maybe scary too. I know I field a lot of like, hey, are you looking for help? Are you looking for this? The worst I could say, or the worst anyone that is in a position to say yes or no, the worst they can say is no. And at least you
exactly.
tried. I mean, give it 100 shots, like give it 200 shots. No big deal. You just got to get that spot, get that experience and keep on moving. I like what you said. Be intentional. That's huge. Very, very huge. So, well, good deal. Good deal. I'm glad you had the internship. This is your last year, right? So when do you finish this
Yeah,
program?
I finished in 2 months. I'm finishing it's a 2 year program, but I'm finishing a semester early, so I'll be
Good for
done
you.
at the middle of December. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm finishing a little bit early, so I'm finishing December, but my graduation isn't until May because they have one graduation a school year, and that's in
Uh-huh.
May. So I'm gonna be done in December. So I'm like, okay, I have like 5 months before my actual graduation. Hopefully, I can get a job and start working a little bit early. But that's kind of the
Yeah,
plan.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Take a
I'll
little
be
paid
done in
time
two
off
months.
to do graduation.
100%. I'm definitely going to take like a little month off, just relax a little bit, enjoy life. Because I started grad school right after I finished undergrad. So I had like a 2 month summer, and that was about
Mhm.
it. So I haven't had time to, ever just chill. So I kind of want like a month or two off after I'm done with school to just relax before I start working again. But yeah, that's basically it. Obviously my academic journey is coming to an end very, very quickly. It's crazy to think that, like literally about 2 months, 2 months exactly, I'll be done. So it's crazy,
Why'd you
but
decide to
time
graduate
flies.
early? What was the thought on that?
So basically, I mean, given the way or given the classes that I had taken, it was just like I would have basically, with the way I was taking my classes, I would have only had, I believe, one class to take in my last semester. So I was just like, I'll just accelerate it and just finish a semester earlier so I don't have to just be here for an extra semester taking one class because that didn't make
Right.
sense to me monetarily in terms of like spending a whole like 6 months on rent for one class and then a whole other
Yeah.
semester of tuition for one class. I was like, I'll just take a summer class. Took a summer class this last summer while I was doing my internship. Took a summer class and just I'll be done with all my classes after this semester basically. And
Good
I'm
for
only in
you.
two classes right now, so I kind of just like speed ran through it somewhat. So I knocked a lot of classes out and my internship counted for some courses as well, and I took summer school. So I kind of just got it all done pretty quickly. So yeah, figured if like
Good for
if I
you.
can be finished now, there's no point in prolonging it kind of thing. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's an awesome path. I mean, again, just to see it from the beginning, trying to figure out how you were going to get into the space, first of all. Second of all, then realizing that first stepping stone, okay, I can use what I learned in undergraduate, apply it to robotics, getting into an awesome institution, Johns Hopkins, awesome institution, and
Thank
diving
you.
into it, finishing early. Now you are figuring out your job search. I'm sure you're going through the same thing like with the internships, putting yourself out there, getting yourself going. It's going to be fun to see what ends up coming your way. Um, as far as it goes, this field in general, before we end this and go into the rapid fire round, but this field in general, robotics, as you've seen it since you've started, what do you see the future of it looking like? From where it is now to where it's going, what does robotics look like in the future?
Yeah. Well, people always ask me like, do you think robots are going to take over the world, this and that? And I'm just like, okay, like let's relax a little bit, guys. Everyone, some people don't understand that robots are very, very far away from being able to do anything like that yet. Like it's very, very far off. People think robots are a lot more advanced than they are. It's we're not there yet. Things are progressing, obviously, but nothing is at that scale yet to where they're taking over our lives. But I think robotics is definitely going to be something, like I said, not taking over our lives, but it's going to be something that greatly enhances our lives to where it's kind of like, kind of like collaborative type stuff, like you kind of like more of a personal assistant kind of thing. So in terms of like us having to do these like, these annoying, tedious tasks or whatever, the robots will be doing it, or like dangerous
Hmm.
tasks, for example, whatever it might be. So that's kind of where I see the industry going. Um,
Yeah.
like I said, for things such as like surgeries, where it's like, by a human, your chances of, it being successful might be 20%. The robot, it might be 60%, things like that. Or like, let's say it's like some dangerous job where like, I don't know, you have to like scale some build. Like, I think there's this one example, like this one, they have to, this one thing, they have something that I think it was inspecting solar turbines or something like, no, wind
Wow.
turbines, excuse me, inspecting wind turbines, and those
Yeah.
are obviously pretty dangerous in terms of inspecting them and stuff like that. And you're super high up, but people have died obviously from stuff like that. And you can send the robots do it instead. Robots can do it. Obviously, the worst that happens, the robot breaks. A couple $100, $1,000, whatever it might be.
Uh-huh.
A lot less risky. I'm sure everyone would rather have a robot break than someone die. So things
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah. So industries like that, where it's like it's repetitive or inconvenient or just dangerous for humans, kind of thing, robot can
Hmm.
take over that. And then just things that uh, can just help us out. Like I said, the robot vacuum is like a great example. Like you plug the thing in and it just vacuums your place on your on itself. All the time. You don't have to worry
Hmm.
about, oh, let me go vacuum and stuff like that. So that's a
Right.
really, really big thing that I think will have a really large impact on society. I know, like I said, it's really big in manufacturing already, really big in logistics already. I think those are just going to continue to expand and just get greater and greater and greater. And I think it's just going to, streamline a lot of processes in our life and just simplify a lot of things for us in the future.
Very cool. Well, if it can simplify the tedious task of doing my laundry, I'm game, dude. I'm game. I'm
Hey,
waiting for that robot.
before you know it, it probably will be out there. So it's just kind of a waiting game at this point.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Tell your buddies to get on it. Um, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we're going to wrap this up with the rapid fire round. It's been awesome learning about all that you've done. Again, such great advice, such great experience that you've been able to share. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. The
Yeah, I
way
really
this
appreciate
works,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. So the way this rapid fire round works is I'm just going to ask you a question, shoot back with whatever comes top of your head. So,
Okay.
first question is, what is your favorite book?
Um, see, I'm not much of a reader these days, but I did enjoy reading Animal Farm when I was younger, like in high school, I believe it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I don't really read books for leisure these days. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, that's just the way it is.
Uh-huh. I hear you. Alrighty. Next question. Most influential role model.
I'm a really big F1 fan, so I'm a really big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Sick.
Really influential, especially in that space. Everything he's doing for like the sport and just progressiveness in general, I really do. I respect that, and I kind of like am heavily influenced by it.
Absolutely. He is a stud. They've got a big F1 race here coming in Vegas in a couple days actually. No, a couple
Yeah, I was
weeks.
just
So
watching the one in Texas this morning, actually. So I just finished watching that a couple hours ago. So he got
that's
second place.
cool.
I was happy to see that.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome, awesome. Okay, next question. Most stressful part about being a student day in and day out. What is that?
Uh, Time management. You have a million things going on in life, and you have to figure out how to balance them all. Or like or either if you can't balance them all, something's gonna give, and you don't want that. Whether it be your grades, your social life, like your personal mental health, you have to balance them all because if you don't, your grades might slip. Your mental health might slip. Like your social life might slip. So you don't want any of those. So you got to find a way to balance them all evenly together, and you know give where you need to, but be able to do them all at the same time, though.
Totally. Totally, totally. Favorite person you've ever studied with?
Um, I think that's going to be like nobody. I'm very much of like a study for myself kind of guy, honestly. I've never really been much of a group study kind of person, honestly. I'm always like a in my room by myself kind of study person because I get distracted too
Yeah.
easily. So I'm like a locked in my room, no music, just staring at a book or whatever it might be kind of guy.
Yeah. I was kind of similar, honestly. I'd say I'd have like one or two friends maybe that were like, "Oh, we can do this." No, we're talking about something else. Like,
Exactly, exactly. It didn't work out. In theory, it sounds nice, but in practice, it never works out. So I just don't do it.
that's funny. Okay, what is the most meaningful way for students to help each other?
I think a lot of it is just being like honest and vocal about where you are with like whatever the material is. Like saying, hey, like I totally don't get this at all, kind of thing, or like no, like I can explain this in a way that might help you out. Honestly, it's just about like being vocal and then being like helpful and understanding. Because some people just don't like to help others out, or they kind of belittle someone if they don't know whatever the topic might be. Just if you know that you know something, explaining to them how you were able to figure it out so well. Or if you know that
Absolutely.
you don't understand something at all, don't fake it. Just be like, hey, bro, explain to me how you got that.
Right.
And just being open about that, I feel like helps a lot. And it just puts everything on the table so you know where everyone stands and you can work from there. And then at that point, it's just making sure the people that you're with are understanding and can help out and are willing to listen and take advice or whatever it might be. So it's really much about
Totally.
just making sure that you're getting help from those that can give you help, and then you're helping out those that you can't help, kind of thing. And if everyone does that, I think everyone will succeed if you do that.
I think so too. I think so too. There can always be more of that. There can always be more of that for sure. I like
Yeah.
that. Next question. What is your biggest hope to accomplish during your time on Earth?
I always say I kind of want to be able to leave knowing that had some kind of big impact in some sector of life, whether it's even engineering. I don't even know. That's kind of what I'm into. So hopefully it fits in my like field, But hey, if I find the cure for cancer somehow, that's cool with me too. But I want to be able to like leave saying that I was able to do something that was profound and able to actually help those, or something that will last longer than me, like something that will live on and continue to be talked about after I'm gone. So even after no one remembers me, whatever work I have done or whatever thing I contributed to Earth, is still helping people out, or being useful to people, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Love that answer. I think that's massive. I mean, just giving back in any way is important, whatever
Exactly.
scale that is. So I love that.
Yeah.
Next question. And usually I just ask this for undergraduates, but you're just about to finish your master's program as well. But undergraduate studies versus graduate studies, what's the purpose of each?
So undergraduate studies, I always feel like, well, depending on like kind of what field you want to get into, whatever it might be, it obviously is going to differ. But undergraduate studies was, I feel like for me, was more of figuring out what the actual reality of some of these, like, some of these fields are. So like figuring out the actual reality of, certain types of engineering are, what they do and stuff like that. And then for me, graduate studies was more of like, okay, I know, how and what mechanical engineers do and how they can apply their efforts, I mean their knowledge, to certain sectors or whatever it might be. I know how what computer scientists do. I know all this kind of stuff. Now figuring out, given all that, how do I want to apply those to something more specific? um so given whatever skills you've obtained, whatever, how do you want to apply that to something and more specific, basically. So that's kind of why that's what I see grad school for, is kind of figuring out those specific interests and honing in on them and specializing in them. While undergrad was kind of more figuring out like, oh, what do engineers even do in real life, kind of thing.
Right.
What does it mean to be an engineer? What do these kind of engineers do? What do those kind of engineers do? Kind of stuff. So I feel like undergrad is a little bit more broad in terms of what you're going to be learning and what you're going to be doing. While grad school is a lot more of like, hey, you've already gotten the basics of it all. You've kind of gotten that broad view of it now, especially now. Focus that in to something more specific, and apply that knowledge that you've learned those past 4 years and apply it to this one thing basically, and
I love
figure
that.
out how you can then learn from that, gain from that or whatever, and make that field even better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great answer. I think a lot of people are confused going into actually why they should go into one or both. So that's helpful. That's a really good answer. This is a big one. This is the last one, but what's your top piece of advice for anybody who's still trying to figure out their academic path?
I always say like just go in there and fail. That's the best way to do things in all honesty. Go in there, figure out what you're not good at. Go in there, try it out. If you fail, that's fine. Try another thing. If you fail, that's fine.
Yeah.
Keep on trying things until you find what you like, kind of thing. I went into undergrad first semester or second semester, I believe, or quarter, whatever it might be. I don't remember at this point. It's been so long, but yeah, I went in. I was in physics. I found that's not for me. Quickly
Me
found
neither.
I am not.
That was
I
my,
am not.
I sucked at
Yeah,
physics.
yeah. That was the first CA I ever got in my entire life was in physics. I was like, wow, so this is physics. My first time taking physics was in college, and I was just like, this is hard. This is not something that I'm good at. I quickly found that out. Um, so yeah, I always say like some people are scared, like, oh, what if I'm not good at it? What if I'm not good? It's okay if you're not good at it. Like it's fine. Like I feel like that myself. That limited me a lot in life. Is just I was scared to do certain things because like I'm like, what if I'm not good at it? Whatever, this, and that. Like, what if it's hard? Oh, it's not. If it's hard, it's okay. Like everything is
Yeah.
hard. People always talk to me. Oh, you're in robotics. Oh, that's so hard. Well, yeah, but it's hard for everybody. It's not easy for
Right.
anyone. Like there's all these guys that are in it, but it was hard for them too, and look where they're at now, kind of thing. So I always
Absolutely.
say that it's just go out there. Don't have this preconceived notion of if it's going to be easy or hard or whatever it might be. Just go out there, try it out. If you don't like it, that's fine. Do something else. If it's hard but you do like it, keep at it. If it's hard, just because it's hard does not mean you should quit. It means you should just like stick with it because you're gonna come out knowing some pretty good stuff at the end of it, kind of thing. So yeah, it's honestly
Absolutely.
it's just about not being scared to fail, and it's okay if it's hard because if it's hard for you, it's probably hard for everyone else. So it's yeah, it's normal basically to struggle. Basically,
Totally.
it's all part of the process.
All part of the process. Absolutely. It is a struggle. It is a struggle, but you've been struggling well for the last 6 years, my friend. You're almost done. We got to hear your story today. I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that a lot of people got to hear this. And, it means a lot for you coming on. Where can people keep up with what you're doing to stay in tune and stay in the loop with what you got?
Yeah, anything in terms of what I'm doing in my life these days is always on my LinkedIn. So if you want to add me on LinkedIn, Chiadika Vincent, Chiadika, Vincent, Vincent. You'll find me on there. I'm always posting anything that's going on with me about like my current day to day or whatever it might be. If you want to see kind of more of just like regular day in the life kind of stuff, you add me on Instagram at Chiadika.b, Chiadika.b. And that's basically my whole life in terms of like all I do is just like academic stuff and then the social life stuff, in terms of like, hey, I'm going to the park today kind of thing. So add me on those, you'll see everything going on. But hopefully, I'm ending school soon, so hopefully there'll be a lot of updates in terms of what's going on in my life professionally. Hopefully I'll post about, job updates or whatever it might be. So connect with me. I'm always happy to connect with people and, meet new people and talk to people and stuff like that. So it was a great place to reach me basically.
Wonderful. We'll go give him a follow, reach out to him. Thank you so much for coming on. This has just been awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.